Hi guys, and welcome to All About the Philippines. Now, today I want to talk about the 3 big relationship issues to consider if you're dating a Filipina. So these issues are the ones I believe to be very, very important and could possibly be deal breakers. So they need to be addressed very early on in the relationship process, rather than leaving it till you've invested a lot of time in each other and you find that you're not compatible with any of these issues. And they are very important issues to consider. Having a relationship with a Filipina is not like having a relationship with someone in your own country. You've got many other things to consider. So it brings its own set of challenges along in making the relationship process as smooth as possible, from when you first start dating all the way through to marrying, and whether you live in the Philippines or whether she comes to live in your country. These 3 issues are really important to factor in to your relationship early on. First one I've put on the list here, and look, these 3 are not in any particular order. They're all very important and probably equally as important to consider, because any of these relationships could end up causing a lot of friction in the marriage and maybe even some resentment, and you don't want that to happen. So, and some of these really require a lot of thought process prior to actually talking to your Filipina about these issues. So the first one that I've put on the list is where to marry. Let's assume you've gone through the relationship process, you've done the dating, you're engaged, and now it's time to get married. Where are you going to get married? Have you already discussed this with your Filipina? If not, it's really important to do it as soon as possible. I would recommend doing it from the time that you actually get engaged, is then you start talking about where you're going to marry. Or maybe even before you got engaged, you might bring it up by saying, if we were to get married, where would you like to be married, etc., etc., So it's about communicating that with your Filipina and coming to a mutual decision on that. Not one person saying, well, this is how it's going to be, or what. If you've got ideas about it, share your ideas and your reasons why. Would you get married in the Philippines? Now that presents some challenges itself. Now, when I got married to my wife, my wife and I discussed this at great length, and I also spoke to my immigration agent about it, the person that knows about these things, and I actually went with his advice on where to get married. Now, we got married in Australia, and simply because the immigration agent advised us to do that. He said if you get married in the Philippines, then it could end up putting significant delays on your wife's spouse visa when you apply for that. Now, he explained that in the Philippines, you might think that you're getting a proper person to marry you who's ordained to do so through the Philippine licensing and all that, but in fact it might not be. You might be getting someone who's not even licensed to do this, and they'll take your money, they'll pretend to give you the paperwork, but the paperwork will never get lodged and the marriage was never actually official. So that does happen in the Philippines. The other reason was, in the Philippines, sometimes processes are slow and sometimes documents do get lost. When I sat down and thought about those 2 reasons, and I knew that it's a hard enough and long enough process for the spouse visa as it is, I didn't want to risk any problem of that happening. Now, I had to weigh that up with the fact that my wife's family weren't going to get to see her get married. And that was a really hard thing to do, because she'd never been married, and they would have loved to have seen that. And it was a really tough decision for us to make. And we sat down and discussed it together, and we had to think what is best in terms of her getting her final goal of coming to live in Australia with me. So that was a tough one. Now, the other way we could have gone about it would be to say, okay, we'll get married in Australia, then go back and get married in the Philippines. But unfortunately at that time, we just didn't have the money to do that. But yeah, unfortunately for us, we couldn't afford to do that. So we had to settle for a simple yet nice wedding in Australia. And we did put some videos out for people to see, and I've done that through my YouTube channel. So the relatives would have still felt a little bit a part of that, but that was a really tough decision and a hard call to make, but we had to make it for those reasons that I've stated. So that's something to really consider, guys. A lot of people say, oh, we'll just get married in the Philippines, but you've got to be sure who you're using over there is definitely qualified to marry you and they know what they're doing. So the next one is children. Does she have children? And are you prepared to take on the responsibility of those children? It's a big responsibility. It's big enough if she has one. My wife had one child, which I've taken on the responsibility and very glad I've done so and very happy to do so. To me, marrying her and her child is part of the deal. It's all a package deal. Otherwise, I could have chosen, said, no, I'll go and find someone else who doesn't have a child. So imagine if there's 2 children. Now, this is the things to consider. It's not just the children, it's the raising of the children, it's the money that's involved in getting the child or children to your country. There's all these things to consider. I know a lot of people are not wealthy, so they're genuine things to consider. How are you going to get the money to do that if you decide to? Or, as I was very surprised to hear from my migration agent, that he said that a lot of men in Australia don't actually allow the woman to bring their child or children with them to Australia. They want to start their own life there together with no children. You know, that sort of shocked me really, because I've always assumed that, you know, you marry a woman and if she's got kids, then you've already accepted that as part of the deal, but apparently not so. So it would be something to really talk about with your wife before you got married. What is going to happen with the kids? Are they coming to your country if that's where you're moving to? Or even if you're in the Philippines, are you prepared to look after those kids as if they were your own? You know, financially, emotionally, everything that goes along with it. And that could be a deal breaker within itself if it's not thought about and spoken about prior to getting married. And the third one I want to touch on is money. So money can always be a problem in any relationship, no matter what it is. You know, how you work your finances between the both of you is very important to discuss. So we're talking about, if she comes to your country, will she be working? If you're in her country, will she also be working? And will you be trying to do any work of any kind? Whether it's, you know, finding work in a call center or doing stuff online to make money. Or perhaps you're on a pension and you can afford to live that way, or you have got savings, whatever it might be. These things need to be discussed. And going on from that is that she is more than likely going to want to send money to her family. If she's living in your country, she would feel a need to send money back to her parents, maybe even 1 or 2 of her siblings on a regular basis. So, as I've said in many of my videos, this is a really important issue for her, because if you say no, she can't send money back, that could be a deal breaker for her. It could be something that will make her feel very sad and upset about, and she might start to resent you. So it's about negotiating with her. Okay, I'm not going to stop you from sending money. I know that's important to you, so we will send money home to your parents. How much can we afford, and work out what you can actually afford to send home. As requests come in from family, and they inevitably will, the family will say, oh well, we need a little bit of money for whatever it might be, then work out together which ones you're going to help and which you aren't, on a case-by-case basis. You can't help everybody all the time unless you've got a hell of a lot of money, which most of us don't. So work that out in advance with your wife or your girlfriend, so you're both on the same page, and she can communicate to her family, look, we're not rich, we're going to do this, and any other requests we will consider, but we can't necessarily help everybody all the time. Our philosophy here is it's good to be able to help when you can, but we can't do it to our own detriment, you know, so we're falling behind on our bills here in Australia. Those are 3 really big issues that I see in a relationship that need to be discussed very early on. If you've got any other relationship issues that you feel could be important that need to be discussed earlier, pop them in the comments below and let's get a bit of a chat going on this, because all this information is going to help people in a new relationship with a Filipina for sure. So let's all add as a collective and get all that information in the comments below for people to see. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed the video, to give it a thumbs up, share the video around with all your networks, and of course don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get more videos. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I appreciate all your support. Take care. and bye for now.